Salute Knicks streets. We're buzzing as the Knicks break down the Philly 76ers, man. 2-0 of preseason. Let's get ready to break it all down and chop it up. With the chat, salute to everyone out here as the New York Knicks look comfortable already after the new coach comes in and the up and down system is looking pretty on the eye right now as Wingstop produced. Today, the situationals, a lot of them were solid. And let's break it all down, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a game ball to give out. We've got grades to give out. And we'll look ahead to Game 3 against Minnesota. There's a Knicks wire-to-wire victory in the second of preseason, 112-104. Salute to everyone in the building. Welcome into the stream. Smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new, right? Starting five, very familiar, man. Running it back as OG Anunoby returned, and it was awesome today, man. OG Anunoby was a huge standout, right? Finished 3 of 5 from downtown. You see here, man, early he was moving and grooving. And the pace is evident. There's obviously so many positives to take out from 2 games. Not getting too carried away because, you know, it is against a very short-handed Philadelphia. No PG-13, no Embiid, no McCain, and no Quentin Grimes. But the Knicks are handling their business, man. And there's, you got to be pleased. We'll have a poll in the chat tonight. Ask you, what is the biggest standout for you coming into this situation now with 2 dubs to start preseason now? Really looking forward to the third game, right, against Minnesota. But what stood out to you the most from these 2 games, right? Option number 1 is getting those 35 plus threes up. The New York Knicks, man, got those threes up once again, above 35, shot 33%. So better than the first game in terms of percentage, but the volume is all the way up. Option number 2, speed, pace, less ISOs, less isolation ball, man. It's clear to see that everyone is sharing the rock, finding that open, space that the defense is allowing and breaking it down, man. As you see, everyone's running the floor really well, getting into that shot clock earlier. Option number 3, Mitchell Robinson dominating, right? Mitch has had 2 really good performances. Game 1 was more dominant, but today was solid as well. And option number 4, last but not least, the Wingstop starters tonight. Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby were both phenomenal, and we're going to reflect that in the grades, right? As you see, Ariel Hukporti in these highlights, impressed as well. We'll take you through the camp battle situations, where things stand. We'll hear from Mike Brown today as well, talking about Jalen Brunson's adaptation and also praising Ariel Hukporti too. So extended rotation again today. Good to see Ariel Hukporti, OG Anunoby come back from the hand sprain. Unfortunately, Josh Hart did miss again this one, right, due to the sore back that they are saying. So we'll see how that looks when we get back to New York City. But the sore back with, Josh Hart only played 7 minutes, right, in Game 1. But, McCullough, I thought looked solid as well. Tosan Awoma, I thought, Cat was a little bit quiet, but Yabusele quiet. I thought Clarkson had a better performance. I thought that Malcolm Brogdon looked very steady again. I like Tosan Awoma's, late finish to the game as well, right? As a lot of guys are putting their case forward, fam. But let's take a look at the numbers, and then we'll give out the game ball. We'll start to give out the grades, shout you guys out in the building. We have Delmar, Carlos, Mello, Mike. What's good? Dirty Dancer. Everyone here buzzing with us tonight. OG Anunoby, plus 20. That's a huge standout. 13 points, like I said, 3 of 5. Hit both of his free throws. he just looked really comfortable early, you know, no rust. Um, and everyone's in really good condition. Let me know what you think about how guys look. Obviously, they're playing very moderate minutes right now, which is a big tick from Mike Brown from me. Um, Defensively, guys are showing energy. Offensively, they're trying to get in their shot, you know, into that shot clock early, which is really big time. Macau Bridges, 4 of 4, 100% from the field. JB went 50% from the field, 5 of 10. You know, assisting wise, I got to give a shout out to the ball movement. But yeah, a lot of guys chipped in. Brogdon got 4 rebounds. Mitchell Robinson with 8. And yeah, Brunson with 2 dimes. We had McBride with 2 dimes. Clarkson picked up 2. Yabusele picked up 2 dimes as well. And Tosan picked up 3 dimes. Right. So now we've taken a look at that, fam. Game ball goes to OG Anunoby. Welcome back, King. OG, man, he was absolutely phenomenal. As I'll just roll OG highlights, right? And look, 3 of 5 from downtown, right? As the New York Knicks got those threes up, that's going to be the key to this season, right? Getting in, you know, into the sets earlier, and so that guys can have that opportunity to pull the trigger and get that, you know, get those open shots. To On that note, Carlos says OG looked amazing. Delmar says I love CT's statistics, breaking it down. Appreciate y'all. Fam, you already know what it is. Salute to Bob and Johnny's in the building. Great to see you. Yeah, we'll break down thoughts on Dardier. Ernest feels like, yeah, there's a lot there to clean up. And with that said, guys, obviously we give out the game ball. You see the efficiency, OG getting the threes up. But we want to unveil our new grading system, right? Our street grades, right? We're not going to give out the letter grades or the number grades, right? We're going to put players, we're going to try to simplify things and just put players into category, right? With the S adjectives, right? And you guys can get creative with it as well. But just as a base, to simplify things, fam, and you know, obviously to keep things fun, right? And we're going to talk about each player individually like we do, but 5 categories, man. The gold S is the special, you know, level, a savage performance, the best that you can get, fam. The green S is a standout, a slick performance. Blue S gets you that solid, you know, maybe you were selfless, you know, just playing your role, putting the team first, you know, an okay performance. The white S, you know, maybe more silent, a sloppier performance, right? And thankfully today, man, I'm not going to give out no red S, but that's saved for someone who had a sorry performance or suspect, ladies and gentlemen. So this is what we do out here, and we give praise where praise is due, and we tell guys where we need to clean things up. But yeah, as you see across the board, a lot of solids, you know, a lot of solid performances. Look, Cat looks like he's not even out of second gear right now, but OG Anunoby gets the special. McBride and Mitch got it in the first game. I'm going to give it also to Macau Bridges, because Macau, 4 of 4 from downtown with his defense, stuffed the stat sheet on the defensive end with some blocks as well. And a lot of solid performances from the guys battling for camp, right? McCullough, Tosan, Diawara, and Trey Jemison. I like what he did, you know, late in the game. But I thought Huck Porty was also a kind of a standout in terms of him, you know, getting through it as well. So trying to keep things interesting out here, right? Now back to the highlights and the statistics. As I dirty said, CT, bro, I ain't remembering that. We'll have time to get through it. But look at this, man. I noticed on defense that, look at the length. Hakporty Diawara with the hands up, right? Putting that block, putting the wall up. You know, defensively, I think definitely we're more aggressive. You know, obviously with the up and down system, we might get beat a little bit, but I think with the rotations moving quickly, guys coming in, coming out, you know, they'll be less gassed. Um, and yeah, I love the aggression defensively. We turn them over a lot of times. Um, we also had the executives in the building, obviously in Abu Dhabi, Patrick Ewing there, Leon taking a sip. We had Wes and Gerson Rosas next to him. But turning over to the stats, right, and the shot charts in this one, um, once again, the New York Knicks won the fast break points, second chance points, points in the paint was even, but the 21 assists, right, that's an improvement on the first game. And I thought the ball movement was even better tonight. Um, a lot of them didn't, you know, guys could have got their assists up even more, but uh, you know, a lot of guys had 3 assists, got 10 steals, and we did shoot better from the line, 75.8%. And as you see, the wire to wire, man, it was a comfortable victory. Um, not as much competition offensively from Philly in terms of what our defense is going to have to, you know, tackle. But obviously against Minnesota, that's going to be a much bigger test, and that's what I'm really, you know, really looking forward to seeing, you know, the most when it comes to preseason, right? Um, a lot of experimenting with some of the lineups. As Mike Brown has confirmed, you know, he wanted to get Malcolm Brogdon into the first half in this game, not the second half. And, you know, the other game 3, he said Garrison Matthews is going to get into the first half in the third game. So it looks like Mike Brown really looking to mix it up. But the biggest lead, the Knicks had 18, and Philly made a little bit of a comeback late, but the Knicks held on with their guys, you know, courtesy of a lot of the guys, you know, vying for, you know, for a spot, right, or potential role, rotation minutes, right? So we talked about some of the solids. I think Huck Pority, you know, we'll hear from Mike Brown in a minute, but he praised Ariel's ability to run the floor, and that's really evident, man. He brings that energy, does Ariel. Finished 2 of 2, 5 points, got 3 rebounds. But I really like McCullough's game offensively too. He's aggressive, got 8 points. Um, look, Pacome Dardier, he's the white S, so he was a more silent, sloppier performance. I also gave that white S, which is a silent, sloppy performance from to Kolek, 1 of 9, 0 of 3 again. You know, you've got to hope that Tyler Kolek can hit some shots. You know, we know what he's great at. And look, shout out to Kolek. 1 turnover, got 3 rebounds, um, an assist and a steal, but finished with 2 points, -4. So with that said, with Tyler Kolek, you know, I want to see him, you know, hit those shots. Uh, so yeah, Mike Brown talking about Ariel Huckporty running the floor really well. Grace says, yeah, Huck continues to impress. Carlos says Macau is going to feast this year. Looks comfortable out there. Um, yeah, I really want to give that props to Macau Bridges, because yeah, he was special. He was special in a limited sample size. But yeah, him and OG, man, get top billing for me in this one. And look, second game of preseason, a lot of guys are just, you know, in second gear, you know, working their way into the new system. But look, all in all, it's hard to not be either optimistic or pleased with what you see. And we'll obviously take a look at the poll in the chat in a minute, and we'll see what's been impressing people the most. But from my perspective, I mean, we're getting the best of what we could expect, you know, out of 2 games on foreign soil. Dirty Dancer says, I like what Brogdon brings, but the ball security has to get back to normal. Yeah, I've noticed, like Brogdon really noticed the size, you know, 6'5". You know, he looks bigger than Garrison Matthews, who I thought was 6'5". Obviously, he's a bit bulkier now as Brogdon. Now, later into his career, he's put on some weight. But yeah, hopefully that he can continue to knock down those shots because yeah, he knocked down that 3 in game 1. Uh, Johnny says you can't spell meh without Matthews. So I don't think Shamet's really taken that chance yet either, Johnny. So we'll see what happens in game 3, 4, and the rest of preseason, right? But let's hear from Brown on Ariel.
Septumi Trent TV. Coach Brown, I didn't get the chance to ask you this last time. You were praising Ariel in his first game. Your thoughts on his performance today, and then also a little bit maybe about his role going forward, how you envision it.
Ariel's a great runner. He's not a good runner. He's a great runner. And so he's got to be able to use that every single possession. He's got to know how to use it. He used it really good, I thought, in game 1. I thought he was decent tonight. He could be better. He's got fantastic feet, so he can guard 1 through 5, in my opinion. Not only that, he can protect the basket because he has great feet and pretty good awareness. Now what he has to do, he's got to understand that if I'm a little late getting there, I can still get there, and I can go vertical. Not like this, but I can go vertical and take it in the chest.
Yeah, I'll stop it there. But basically, yeah, Mike Brown's going to continue to preach. He's a vocal coach, man. We're going to get some crazy box office press conferences. But I like the transparency. I like the detail. You know, under Tibbs, you wouldn't get a whole lot. It would be, oh, Ariel was good. He was great. This guy was okay. That's all you'd get. But we're going to get a lot of breakdowns from Mike Brown in terms of what he wants to see, what the player has been doing well. But yeah, specifically, I think he hit the nail with Ariel Hukporti. It's about staying vertical. Now, a couple of those fouls were a bit tough on him. But with that said, I think obviously the leadership of Jalen Brunson and his adaptation is big.
Oh, yeah. Jalen, he's starting to adjust. You can see it. I think this is going to be good for him because you can see how much space he has when he brings the ball. And again, if you want to pressure a guy like Jalen with that much space, it's a pretty good chance that he can make you pay for it. And so I like that aspect of it. And then, him just getting used to run, and still be effective, whether you're on the ball or off the ball. It was great to see. You could see he's starting to get his feet underneath him a little bit and understand how to play at that frantic pace and still be effective and know where his shots are going to be or come from.
Yeah, look, I'm not worried in the least because obviously it's been a quieter 2 games from the captain, JB, but he needs to sort of get back to more table setting as well earlier in the game. Mike Brown's already preached, guys, that he's going to have the ball in his hands in crunch time to take us to victory. But most of the time, we're either going to have a healthy lead and he might not need to isolate late in the game because we've run teams out of the gym. Or it's going to be some times where, other guy's got he's feeling it and OG's got it going and, he could take us to victory. He could take us home as well. Shout out to Lonnie, says Bridges being out of Tibbs prison played aggressively. Yeah, really like what I saw from Wingstop with OG Macau ranking in with among the top 2 wings that guard first options on the opposing team. So the fact that they're 2-way players on our squad starting lineup, man, that's the recipe to lead us to a championship, And once Jalen Brunson gets fully comfortable in this system,
hey Jalen, I'm Owen from Hong Kong A Sports Next. So last season you averaged over 26 points and led the Knicks to the conference finals, but the team just fell short. This year with the addition of Jordan Clarkson and other players, how do you see this group's chemistry evolving to finally break through to the finals and eventually win the championship?
Yeah, for us it's going to be a step-by-step process. Not just going to jump back into the finals or conference finals. We have some great additions that are going to help us. This journey is going to be a long journey, so how we go about it every single day trying to get better. It's because it's going to help us. So we're not really focusing on the end product, just focusing on our journey.
Hey Jalen, I'm Owen from Hong Kong A Sports.
That's it. He's a day-by-day guy. His JB stays even keel, and no doubt he's adapting to the system and everyone is, but so far so good, right? Again, a big night for the starters, plus all across the board. Slower start from Gershon Yabusele. That's no surprise that he's one of the newer guys, along with Malcolm Brogdon and Jordan Clarkson. How would you guys rank the three main new guys in terms of their first two games right here? You see Malcolm Brogdon. Today, Brogdon finished 1 of 3, missed 2 threes, but hit 3 of his free throws, gave us 4 rebounds, an assist, 2 steals, +7, 5 points from Malcolm Brogdon in just 5 minutes. In just 12 minutes, right? So, look, yeah, these guys ain't playing a whole lot of minutes or a prolonged stretch to get into more of a rhythm. But, these are the kind of plays that's going to, really help us and show the value that Malcolm Brogdon brings, right? Good handoff from Landry. And Brogdon uses his toughness and size, physicality to get to the rack, fam, on Kelly Oubre as well. So, yeah, as I said earlier, Brogdon looks bigger than I anticipated in terms of when you see him in a Knicks uni now. Yeah, maybe he's put on a little bit of weight as well because he has missed, he's only played, 20-something games in the last 12 months. But if he can stay healthy, that 15 to 20-minute a night role is going to be key in leading the Knicks bench lineups, where we're either going to, protect a comfortable lead, or we're going to be able to get separation or get the lead, if the starters don't have it going. So far, I think Malcolm Brogdon has been solid, right? He gets the solid grade from me tonight. As I said before, a different story for Clarkson and for Yabusele. 2 games have been a little up and down. I thought Clarkson was better tonight, though. I think this was one of his better game. 2 of 5. He drilled a 3, went 1 of 3 from downtown, missed a couple of free throws, finished with a rebound, 2 assists as well. Had 7 points +1 in 14 minutes. But again, the highlight is that he's not really dominating the offense. We're going to take a look at some great possessions of some ball movement, right, from the younger guys. But yeah, with Clarkson, Yabusele, look, they just need to get more comfortable, I think, in the system, right? And then we're going to be dangerous with Deuce McBride off the bench, and a lot of other situationals that will get opportunities throughout the season. Like Ariel Hukporti might not be in the rotation, guys, to begin, but you see Mike Brown already talking up his strengths and what he can bring to the table, right? Now, on the sophomore front, the two White S, the slower silent starts from Kolek and Dardier didn't take their opportunities in these first 2 games. So maybe Mike Brown will dial back some of the minutes from those guys, and maybe he's going to say to Garrison Matthews or Kevin McCullough, hey, what you guys got? We've got 3 more preseason games now, but you blink and these 3 preseason games will be over, and then it'll be opening night. So how does Mike Brown dole out the minutes in these remaining 3 games is going to be very interesting. But from my perspective in Abu Dhabi, I think Kolek and Dardier didn't take their opportunities, right? Yeah, they showed flashes. I thought Kolek was better in game 1. Tonight, man, he went 1 of 9. But you got Brogdon, Clarkson. I think Kolek was always going to be situational, right, if he sticks. But don't forget, we're going to talk about, we've got decisions to make, right? And the Knicks are evaluating. They're evaluating every single minute, that these guys are on the floor, man. It's critical. As Clyde said on the broadcast, I know he was kind of joking with Tyler Murray. Some of these guys are playing for their lives, no doubt about it, fam. NBA spots are shrinking by the day, fam. You got vets that can't even stay in the league anymore, that can't get picked up. And if you don't produce, you get a couple of years, you might find yourself out of the league. Margaret says Huck, Yabu has been struggling, and Huck will play. I won't be surprised. Huck Porty looks really comfortable, and Margaret, he's played overseas, couple of seasons. He's had a season in the NBA now. And look, shout out to some of the coaching staff as well, even including Tibbs. Tibbs did give him some opportunities late. He should have given him more opportunities. But I think Mark Bryant now working with Huck. Huck looks really good. Out of these two games, fam. One of the highlight plays of the night, man. OG running the floor quick, finding Mitch, man, running the floor even more quick on the lob connection. You love to see that. Guys just looking out for each other, and finding each other. With that said, man, OG Anunoby gets the second game ball. So a different man takes the game ball in game 2. It was Deuce McBride in the first one, and a really efficient OG Anunoby. I love the 3 from 5 from downtown as well. He was getting loose, and he wasn't hesitating, right? But an honourable mention to Midi Macau, right? Didn't hit a 3 tonight, but 4 of 4 from the field, from the mid-range, right? And doing what he does best. With that said, so a lot of solids across the board. But like I said, I think Kolek and Dardier are really on the outside looking in. But no coincidence that their names have been, talked around a potential move. And we'll see what happens, right? But as we talk more about the later game situation, right? McCullough, Tosan, Trey Jemison, Diawara, they all showed flashes and get the solid grade from me tonight, fam. Who stood out to you the most out of those guys? Yeah, Wayne, I love McCullough. I really think if he can stay healthy, he's a rotation player. Had a 30-piece at Summer League, and I think he's got a real skill set. Got 2 steals tonight. Comfortable driving to the basket. Yes, he's inefficient sometimes. He can force it a little bit, and the 3-point ball is still something that is a work in progress. But I mean, he's a kind of a heart light, as they say. 2 rebounds, 2 steals, an assist. Finds guys, reads the floor well. 8 points in this one, but 3 personal fouls. But you get that with Kevin McCullough, because he's aggressive. Now, Mo Diawara drilled that 3 as well. Shout out to, I think, Kolek that found Diawara. But he finished with 2 rebounds, got some points on the board, did Diawara. But it's more the flashes defensively and just the disruption that he provides. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to the third game, getting back to prime time. Right, these matinee starts are crazy, man. It's middle of the night for me where I'm at, but I'm kind of watching it with one eye closed, catching some sleep, but also watching the recap when I wake up. But I can't wait for the prime time tip against Minnesota in the next one. So here's a big swat from Yabusele. So, obviously he's going to be an aggressive player on defense and offense. But yeah, great finish from Mikal Bridges. Started with Gershon Yabusele, the dancing bear, throwing that one back in the face, I think, of, is that Justin Edwards? But yeah, the ball movement, pretty to see. Great little cutback, backdoor from Mikal, who was an absolute standout in this one. Well, he was a savage in this one. Roberto says Kolek or Pacome. I choose Matthews as well over those two. I think Garrison Matthews had a better game 1, but today Garrison went 1 of 5, 1 of 4, but he's a flamethrower. And so I think the front office really likes him. And yeah, we got 3 more games to play. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing these camp battles play out. Right, I thought Tosan Awoma, right, he's secured the 2-way, so he's around, and we might need him throughout the season on these back-to-backs. Tosan Awoma showed his strength in transition, finishing at the basket. He's got good size. Pause on the drives, offensively, defensively. He looks intriguing. to me. Matt Ryan, I think we've seen what he's capable of, and I think he'll most likely be one of the cuts and end up in Westchester. But we'll see. He got 8 minutes tonight. Trey Jemison, though, went 3 of 6 from the field and got 3 tough rebounds, right? Finished with 7 points too. So, look, he's doing his chances no harm, is Trey Jemison, to, earn some potential situational minutes if there's an injury, right? He'll be out of the rotation to begin with, but he's on a two-way, is Trey Jemison. Margaret feels like the Knicks could have brought back DeLon Wright. He's stable. Clarkson is more reckless. Yeah, I think we're going to see like the highs and highs of Clarkson, and then we're going to see the lows like we did with Cam. But you feel like if it evens out, Clarkson's scoring output is going to, to lean in his favor, I think. But yeah, I like DeLon Wright. I think he, it's a shame that he went to Indiana. With that said, like, what do you think with Kolek, in his preseason so far, right? We'll see if he gets any more minutes, right? But I've got to feel like in the third game, tougher opponent, they are going to probably dial back the minutes of some of these guys, right? As you see Tosan knock down that 3, courtesy of Tyler Kolek, right? Look, Tyler always has that skill set, man. Like, the scoring may never come along. It may never translate defensively the same. But the man can pass. The guy can find his teammates, and he's very, very selfless. Obviously, we know Jordan Clarkson is kind of the opposite of that, right? So, shout out to this play too. Pacome Dardier still gives you that defensive hustle. And I think, look, offensively, that is still a work in progress. But defensively, I think that's probably Pacome Dardier's best skill set right now. Just using his length, be disruptive, play aggressive, because you're not going to get many minutes. So when you do play, you got to be really aggressive. Dirty Dancer says you need ruthless aggression off the bench. Clarkson will make sure we don't average 5 points off the bench in the playoffs. Yeah, Dirty, one of the best things that Clarkson could bring is getting to the line. His ability to manipulate and get into the paint, get 1 foot into the paint, which is a key staple for Mike Brown, because that's what's going to allow those threes, those open threes for the teammates, right? All Clarkson has to do, because he's very shifty, he's quick with the dribble, he's crafty, he's savvy. If he can just not have tunnel vision and try to get 3 or 4 assists, I'll be okay with that. Because let's face it, we got 3 or 4 assists on a good night with campaign. If Clarkson can give us that scoring and 3 or 4 dimes, in 15 minutes, I'll appreciate that. And here's one of them. This is what I mean. Now, he probably saw Big Mitchie and his eyes lit up, but if Mitchie wasn't there, he's definitely forcing that over Drummond. But shout out to JC, he kept his head up, right? That's the thing about, he's a combo guard, he does keep his head up, and because he's comfortable with the handle, and he can spot that man cutting. Even Mitch wasn't expecting that pass. Wayne says, I hate to say it, but Kolek did miss Matthews on 2 plays where he was wide open. Matthews should have had a couple of extra threes. Yeah, I think we are going to get a bit of that, in preseason with guys trying to showcase. They're obviously trying to, in the case of Kolek, everyone knows he can pass, but he's trying to show the front office and he's trying to show the fans that, hey, he can score as well. Too. Roberto says Tosan can play. He's better than Pacome. He's got NBA experience, and right now, yeah, he might look a bit more seasoned in the case of that. Now, look at everyone else running the floor. Another dime from Clarkson to Mitch. Mitch looks super in shape, right? Super slim down. and definitely good elevation running the break on that one, man. But it's not hard to beat Drummond down the floor. So look, good fast break points. That's been one of the biggest ticks so far, guys, of the 2 preseason games. When we talk about what's different, it's like, yeah, we know what this squad's capable of. Most of the players are returning, but what's going to be different from last season? Last season, we were slow as a snail under Thibodeau offensively. If we can get more stops, play more aggressive defensively, get up on that perimeter and not be drop coverage and and trying to blitz and trap, force these turnovers, we're definitely gonna feast with Deuce Clarkson off the bench and some of our mobile bigs. You heard Mike Brown talk about Ariel Hukporti already standing out with him running the break as well. So today, 19 fast break points, man. That's like a whole quarter worth of points just from fast breaks. 18 second chance points as well. So that's been one of the biggest keys. And we haven't even shot the ball well from downtown, right? 20% from downtown in game 1. We had 33% from downtown in this one, fam, and a much better effort, right? Obviously finding guys with the 21 assists as well. So that's climbing up as well. And welcome back OG Anunoby. I've got a feeling that he's going to be collecting game balls like for fun, man, like a collector, fam. And we give out the street grades, the categories in this one. Try to keep it simple, man. Were they special? Was it a standout performance? Were they just solid? Were they silent or sloppy? Or were they suspect? Mitch getting all those touches that he was crying about. Mitch is going to have all you can eat, fam. As long as his cardio can keep up, he could be like a 15 and 15 guy, man, if he plays 30 plus minutes. Roberto says, CT, it's time to invest in McCullough and Diawara, dump Kolek and Pacome. Let's talk a bit about the decision now. We've seen 2 games. I don't know if they're going to get many opportunities in the 3rd game, right? Pacome got a start because OG was out. Now that OG's back, Hart's out still. We'll see what happens with Pacome. But with Kolek, I think there's honestly, I would love to see Kolek get a shot and stick around. But the fact that we have to make a move to free up, to keep Shamet and Brogdon, and I say we have to, meaning that it sounds like they want to. That's not me saying we have to. That's the front office, I think, already telling, teams around the league that, we're looking to keep Shamet, we're looking to keep Brogdon. And so, I mean, so far, obviously, Brogdon's a lock. We pursued him for 2 months. He's here, and he's looked fairly solid. Shamet, he's looked okay. I think he was solid today, in a small role. But the main thing with Shaman is, you can depend on him. Even if he's out of the rotation, he can come back in a minute. But Garrison Matthews is a guy that I would really love to try to keep. Now, that could be the 15th guy, and we could say, hey, you chill out until, March, and we'll bring you in. But to do that, we might have to move, like Roberto said, sorry, we might have to move a guy like a Pacome, who I would hate to lose. The fact that we've got Diawara, the fact that we've got McCullough, Tosan, I'm not going to lie, it does make that decision a little bit easier. It's not an easy decision. I would love to keep Pacome Dardier, but the fact that they've stacked some of these other wings and, and they're guys that are really deserving of a chance as well. So does that make that decision a little bit easier? Do they maybe shirk that decision for now and they say, hey, let's just do the Kolek one and we worry about the 15th guy later? But then that means we lose out on Garrison Matthews. It allows us to keep Brogdon. It allows you to keep Shamet, but it means you miss out on Garrison Matthews as well, who, has shot the ball better than Landry. Not providing the same level of D, but he shot the ball better than Landry, right? And obviously over his career too, man. It was an absolute dunk contest for Mitchell Robinson in this one. But as I say, guys, you do have to preface this by saying, we're playing Philly. And I said this last stream. I think Philly's going to be fighting the play-in, right? They've got talent, and obviously no McCain, no Grimes, no PG, and no Embiid. But it's tough to see PG and Embiid staying healthy. And then it's going to be a lot of Grimes. He's going to be getting a lot of shots up because he's in a career year now. Let's not forget, Grimes took the qualifying offer as well. And he told the front office, I want 25 million. I want 30 million. His agent was telling some people. Think about now. He's on a qualifying offer deal. Quentin Grimes he's gonna go J.R. Smith, Alonzo Trier on these guys this season. Now that's probably good for Philly because McCain's out. They're gonna need some scoring. But I think Philly will be, they'll be fighting that play-in right now. But look, the pleasing thing is our depth, right? As we check in on tonight's poll, ladies and gentlemen, we've got the Knicks Streets rocking tonight, smashing that like button, subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Welcome in. What stood out to you the most from these two games, right? Option number 1, coming in at 65%. Now, is speed, pace, less ISO. Number 2 option is Mitch, dominating at 22%. Option number 3 is the wing stop starting duo at 9%. And at 6%, last but not least, is getting those 35 plus threes up in our offense as well. So shout out to you guys for voting. And yeah, we've got to stick to basics, and I agree. The speed, the pace, less ISOs is just what we needed, man. It's exactly what we needed. And so far, guys are going to feel more comfortable. But I think there's going to be a higher level of buy-in on the defensive side too. So yeah, I love the input from Johnny. Salute. Chiming in on the grading system. I love the feedback. So Johnny says, disagree, CT. Mitch gets the special savage in this one. I gave him that in the first game. I think today, for me personally, he was a standout still. Slick, but no doubt Mitchie is a savage the way he's playing right now. So yeah, we can make that upgrade. Coach, welcome in, says Hart, Pacome Kolek, Washington pick for Eason, Green, and a Brooklyn pick. Man, I've heard a lot of the Tari Eason name being floated out there. And yeah, the fact that they're going to have to pay Eason, Pacome Dardier would be a cheaper or lesser option for them, but, something similar. And obviously Kolek would help them out in the absence of Fred VanVleet. I can't see them trading Josh Hart at this stage of the game, but man, Leon Rose has pulled off some crazy moves, so I would not be shocked, right? It's about thinking about, okay, how can we manage this situation, man? We are so stacked, man. Remember back in the day, Knicks fans we would debate, Kenny Wooten needs minutes, or Ferron Hunt from the G League needs minutes. We'd be talking about these end of the bench, kind of end of the bench, Norvell Pels, Ron Baker stands even as well. Now we've got real, potentially NBA, talented guys on two ways that would probably play on, 15 NBA teams, 20 NBA teams. I'm talking about McCullough. I'm talking about Kolek, Dardier. A lot of these teams would try playing these guys because they can actually, they've got skill set. Ricky Lido, appreciate that, coach. Yeah, we love Tari Eason, man. Fred VanVleet going down. Let's see what they do. Bronx Root says, when McCullough was drafted, I felt like he was going to be Hart's eventual replacement. Right. I'm hoping that comes sooner rather than later. Hart's, he's getting older in his career now, plus 30, 31. No doubt, I think we've got some of these wings ready and waiting, I think, for the future. we'll see how, how that plays out. Look, Shamet's more of a stopgap to me, but yeah, Diawara, McCullough, Dardier, if he sticks around, some of these guys can really blossom, I think, in an up-tempo system. I think that's what it's mostly about, getting these guys in, the open floor, right, outside of that slow half-court grind. So 21 assists tonight, I think that could be even better. Guys missed quite a few shots still finding their rhythm, but glad to see that OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. They look ready to go, fam. They look ready for Boston, Cleveland, the first couple of games, Miami. They look ready to go. So that's good. I do think that, OG looks like he's in fifth gear. Mikal Bridges the same. I think JB, Cat, they look like they're stuck in second gear right now, and that's okay. Anyone not named those guys producing is a blessing, because we know those guys are going to come. They're the MVPs. When it comes to Brunson and Cat, I don't mind Brunson taking a back seat right now, man. He's saving the best till last when the season gets going. We know that he's a big time, late end of the season performer. Right now, what I would love to see, get going is Yabu. I would love to see Jordan Clarkson get going. Good to see Huck Porty. He looks ready to go. Maybe the message has been that, hey, we're going to feature Mitch a lot, and you're that guy to back him up. They're probably telling Huck Porty early, with the way that Mike Brown's been bigging him up. We see how much reps Mitch is putting in. This Cat had a nice little fall away in this one. Cliff D says that formerly Ron Baker stands have now morphed into Tyler Kolek stand. Johnny says, CT, who's the best players in transition? Look, I'm loving Mitch in transition. I mean, he's just so tough to keep, to stop, to box out. Cat's really good in transition, but I've always felt that probably OG and Mikal, because they can pull up from the corner. They can finish strong at the basket too, fam. Kevin McCullough, shout out to him. He's a blur in transition as well, fam. I'm going to bring up actually one of these plays from the young guys. Actually, that where do we have it? Yeah, the young guys on display. Here we go. So this is Diawara. Look, Diawara is going to be good in transition, but he's been a little bit sloppy with the layups. He needs to finish strong. So yeah, this is Kolek. Kolek on the ball, nice little crossover. Finds the dump down to Huck Porty. So yeah, the ball movement was good in that one. Yeah, Matt Ryan, I think, is going to go to Westchester. But yeah, you need the bodies to fill camp. And I think, look, theoretically, Matt Ryan is just filling a role. I'm not looking at Matt Ryan, the kind of player. I think what the Knicks front office was aiming to do is make sure we bring in a couple of just knockdown shooters so that Brunson and co and these lineups can gel, with the ball movement. There's no point running these drills trying to shoot, kick it out to shooters with ball movement and that. If the guy in the corner shooting is a guy that can't shoot, So I think Matt Ryan's just in here to fill that camp body, and obviously Garrison Matthews, I think, has a much better chance to stick. But you gotta love to see how comfortable Diawara is in the half court and the open court so far. He doesn't look out of place, does Diawara. I think that pro experience is really helping him. Now, it's going to be interesting to see in the pro setting, right, can he space the floor out, right? He did knock down 1 of 2 from 3. That's going to be something to pay attention to, because we know in transition he's strong as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had some great action from these first 2 games. It's good to eat on some food with Philadelphia. I was kind of hoping we'd play some tougher opponents, but the first 2 games, you just want to get into a rhythm. With that said, you know. So we got Tibbs with the Thibodeau with the Timberwolves. Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see. He was visiting their practice, so we'll see how that plays out, fam. So we've got a super chat through from Yuri Ark, my guy Yuri in the building. Salute, Yuri. Got the streets buzzing. Appreciate ya for the contributions. Yuri says it's preseason still, and it was the Sixers, right? But I will say the players are buying into Mike Brown's system faster than expected. 5 out is looking amazing. McCullough and Matthews are bringing competitions. Absolutely, Yuri. I think if you don't know, if you didn't already know, now people know that McCullough, and Matthews have got real skills. The way McCullough is slithery at finishing at the basket, and he's got a nice little scoop too. I did notice that in the G League last season. And look, Matthews was always a killer. There's some of those games where he played us, he was a killer. So I'm glad that we're finally signing more of these killers. Fam, and we obviously the pace and the space, like you said, has been key. 39 threes did we get up today? Let me just double check. We got up 36 threes. That's good enough to me, fam. Obviously, I want to see Kat shoot a little bit more than 1 3. But yeah, Anunoby getting up 5 was good. Brunson getting up 4 was good as well, right? We'd love to see Mikal Bridges get up some threes, but he only played 16 minutes, right? Matthews got up 4. Clarkson got up 3. Brogdon got up 2 as well. He was a little inefficient from downtown, but Brogdon finished 1 of 3 from the field. Look, still some intriguing storylines to play out, right? I'm not fully sold on the Clarkson Brogdon situations yet. I know they're going to stick, but I would love to see more of those guys. Hopefully they can really pick it up and get out of third gear. But those guys are going to start out off the bench, obviously, and our bench is obviously a lot stronger than it was last season, so that's a big tick too. I just think it's going to come down to getting off to good starts. Today was a big plus. Third quarters have been really good too, as we've been leading in the wire to wire. In the start of the third, that's been big time, and long may it continue, fam. So yeah, good shout outs from Yuri. The 5 out look is amazing. Hopefully we can just start to knock down more of these threes. Cliff says Diawara is reluctant to shoot. He seems to look more for the open man a lot. Yeah, I think he's used to that European system, fam, of passing first. But yeah, I think that'll come. With his size, I mean, he's going to get more confident finishing in transition as well. Yeah, I could see him getting a whole heap of deflections. But yeah, I didn't know Yabu had that in his locker, fam. That stuff was nice to see from Yabu, and Mikal benefits from the throwdown. The other player I wanted to bring up too, right? Which one was it again? Yeah, we've seen that a lot. The quick trigger from OG. Yes, this was what I was going to bring up. It was the still image of hands up, man. What does Mark Jackson say, man? Hand down, man down. Right. I feel like there's a whole new focus on getting those hands up. Under Thibodeau, there wasn't as much of that. And I was constantly preaching, man, just get that hand up. It's a small thing, but it could sometimes deter those guys from pulling up from 3. And, no 2 guys better with the wingspan than with Diawara and Huck Porty, right? That's what I want to see more of, right? get those hands up and just be more aggressive defensively. Yeah, Cliff says our two ways look good. I think it's an upgrade, definitely. You know, you're bringing championship mindset. We brought in some guys that can actually, you know, looks like they could produce in a pinch. I mean, Trey Jemison played. He got reps with the LA. You know, he's a big body. Is Trey Jemison, man? 3 of 6 today. Grab some big time rebounds as well. Bronx says, truthfully, the only player that I think could struggle with Brown's system is Brunson. I just don't see him as that catch and shoot off ball point guard. He seems to need dribbles to get into a shooting rhythm. Yeah, I think, like I said, I think if in an ideal world, the way this plays out for me, fam, is first 3 quarters, it's just a, you know, it's a very open offense. You know, feed the hot hand, and just you know, other guys can feast. When it comes to Brunson, I think just give him the ball with the final 3, 4, 5 minutes if it's a close game. You know, and we could just revert back to that ISO system, or more of an isolation system late in the game. But as long as you know, during the game, he could, you know, maybe be a decoy some of those times. You know, but I know we haven't talked a bit about him a lot today, man, but I mean, let's continue to shout out Deuce McBride, because we're going back home with the 2 dubs, and a story has just dropped in the last, you know, 12 hours from Ian Begley about that. Basically, you know, any possibility of a trade with Deuce McBride is dead in the water, man, dead on arrival, right? Maybe that first game did really just silence everything, but right. Yes, we all know every team in the NBA would love a Deuce McBride, but it'd be absolutely foolish, I think, to move him on in a championship, you know, open window right now, and we're trying to go for it, right? He's more steady than Clarkson. He can score better than Brogdon. He's our most dependable bench player right now. You know, his floor is higher than Josh Hart, I think. Hart's more of a moments player, and he can have some amazing moments, you know, does Josh Hart. But I think the floor is just more solid with Deuce McBride on both sides, you know, as a threat, catch and shoot, and all of that. But yeah, he was the special savage in game 1. A quieter performance today, but look, Deuce McBride, he's gonna eat in Mike Brown's system. Yeah, as Ian Begley noted that. Mark says he's just going to be more consistent. Good to see you in the building. Johnny says, unfortunately, the second half looked like a G League team. Huck and McCullough stood out. Skill level, team fit. And you think Brunson will excel in Brown's system. I don't think he's a natural kind of up and down player, but I think he can still, you know, be, you know, a high level version of Jalen Brunson. But yeah, one of the biggest things that I think we left on the table, guys, last season was just OG and Macau, right? If we look offensively, it was Cat bailed us out of a lot of playoff games. You know, remember Detroit? I mean, I look at some of those highlights today, and I feel like, man, we got out of jail. You know, we got out of jail in I think it was game 4 against Detroit, right? Where Cat just went spaz and hit that shot from downtown. He hit that shot from midtown, and you know, and then he got a couple of that acrobatic circus shots, and it was just crazy. If we can just get a more steady diet of, you know, Macau, OG, Brunson, Cat, and Mitchell Robinson sprinkled in, you know, 15 to 12 points from Mitchell Robinson, because he's going to be open a lot, you know. And I think we definitely did ignore Mitch a lot, you know. And if the floor spaced out better, it's not just the horizontal spacing. We got the vertical spacing now with Mitchie, right? If they want to close out hard on all of our shooters, Well, Mitchell Robinson's there for the lob, like you see here with OG. Good comment here. Dirty Dancer says, we got 3 guys where it's not as crazy to consider them 6 men. And we haven't even seen much of Hart. I mean, Hart, don't doubt Hart, because at Hart, at people's peril, he'll bob up with 14 and 14 and be a killer. I think that's what, as a Knicks game plan, scheming, that's what you want. You want the other team to fall asleep on a Josh Hart, because he'll drive opposing coaches mad when he'll come in with those rebounds. He'll push the break as well. And if Hart's playing less minutes, that could be his sweet spot, where he gets into that mode where it's like, man, don't doubt me. Mark says Bridge is going to have a good season. Yeah, I feel it too, man. I just felt it from the beginning. Shout out to Leon for the off season. Shout out to Pat and everyone else enjoying the Abu Dhabi experience. Yeah, the extension of Mikal Bridges, we got back to our starting 5 now. I think we can really build that continuity. Games 3, 4, and 5 of preseason, right? We know Hart's not going to start now. I think injury aside, we discovered now that Hart is not going to start opening night, and that is going to be our starting lineup right now, man. And that was my prediction, and I'm really happy, because I think it's looked good so far, in the Mike Brown system. Now, granted, it's against Philly. Let's see how it does against a really good opponent now. Let's see if Brunson can really come alive. Let's see if OG Anunoby can continue to look this good. Let's hope Cat can come alive in the 3rd game too. These guys probably play a little bit more minutes. I would ramp their minutes up to around 22, 25. Anyone not named Mitch. What do y'all think? How would y'all face the 3rd game now against Minnesota? You've got to dial it up, because there's only 3 more games in preseason, and you don't want to mess around too much, right? You want everyone in game ready, mode, right? So Brunson played 16, Mikal 16, OG 16, Cat 16, and Mitch played 13, right? So yeah, all of the 16 guys, I would get up to 20, 23, 25 even. Maybe don't show Minnesota everything. And that was one of the things on my notes, guys. I don't think Mike Brown is going to reveal all of his playbook. And I know I'm probably stating the obvious, but it's only been 2 games, fam. So the playbook is going to become more expansive. But the shots are going to find themselves if we're just running and gunning, right? But, yeah, the 3rd game, we might see some more wrinkles. Michi, I would get up to 20 minutes. And we're going to start to get ready for Cleveland. Mark says, who do you think is going to be 6-man on the team? It could be, that's the thing, man. It's a great question, because it just could be anyone on any given night. I mean, Clarkson's definitely going to get a couple of game balls. I could see it. Brogdon is more of an unknown because of the health situation, but I mean, he's looked okay. Nothing to write home about, but he's definitely a steady hand. And I think the 3-point stroke will be more consistent than campaign. And I think the floor game and the passing will be more consistent than campaign. But I gotta think the real 6-man is Deuce McBride. I think he will definitely outshine most of those guys consistently. I've said this, I think, a lot last season, but I really think that Deuce McBride is a starter in the NBA now. I think that's pretty clear. On another team, he would definitely start. Not every team, but a lot of teams Deuce could start. Yes, he gives up a bit of size, but he's just, his game is really, really come along. So yeah, Deuce would be my early favorite, fam. Yeah, I'm not sleeping on Hart. either, like I said. So yeah, pleasant surprise from McCullough. I mean, I always said that if he could stay healthy, he'll be a guy that might end up replacing Hart. We'll see how that plays out. Yeah, Mark agrees. You think it's Deuce? Apoca Knicks now, salute. Says, Brogdon looked great controlling the pace while JB was out. Yeah, that's a key comment too, because so many times we needed a A game from Brunson just to win. We needed a A minus, A plus game from JB just to win. Now, I think there's going to be a lot of victories where we might be like, man, JB was quiet tonight, but that's okay. We win. Who really cares if somebody else stands up? And so, like you said, when Brunson's out, even when he's in, he might be more of a decoy as well, fam. I love to check the overs on Cat scoring this season, because without looking at the odds, I think there's a high possibility Cat scoring goes to a higher level, in terms of points. This could be a year Cat averages the highest. What do you guys think? Because I think Cat scoring wise, I mean, there's nobody that can hang with him. He's just he's just a dynamic scorer, man. 5 out guy with a faster offense too. I think Cat's going to absolutely light it up, and Brunson's scoring might go down a bit. So yeah, he gets the savage grade tonight. Macau Bridges, right? Let's hear what he has to say. So Macau says, we're just flowing, not thinking. Just go out and play ball. So on that note, no, those quotes were in reference to the Knicks getting more comfortable with their new philosophy, right? Just flowing, not thinking, just go out there and play ball. And no doubt that's when Macau is most dangerous. We saw that last season in transition. In the half-court set, he shrunk in the Thibodeau system. And I think we are going to get a more dynamic Macau Bridges. He was just missing that bit of dynamism, or whatever that word is, being more dynamic. Macau Bridges had some moments last season, but they weren't consistent enough. Now, in an up-tempo system, I think we will see more dynamic Macau and OG. Those guys still have more to give. They're only 29, 28. OG, they're below 30 still. They're in their peak, in their absolute prime. So that's why we got to capitalize, fam. Right now with wing stop. I think the buck stops with wing stop. Right now, they guard the best players. They need to pick the other guys up with scoring. I think we could go as far as they take us. Let's hope Brown's got a real plan for these guys to light it up. Roberto says Brogdon level of play goes up with the starters. He will beat out Clarkson for minutes, or McBride is the 6th man. Yep, appreciate that. So, as I said earlier, fam, the plan for Game 3 is that Garrison Matthews will play in the first half of Game 3. Brogdon, the plan was to play first half today, right? So that paid off well. And I look forward to seeing what Garrison Matthews can do Game 3. That could be his showcase. That could be a make or break for Garrison Matthews, fam, according to Stefan Bondi, right? And my worst fear is that Garrison Matthews has a show out and we have no way of keeping him. Well, we do have a way of keeping him, but, it is a case of, it's going to be really tough. We'd have to trade 2 guys to get Garrison Matthews, or trade Pacome Dardier to allow us to fit Shamet Brogdon and get Garrison Matthews later in March. So, look, based on that, fam, I think you might, you kill, as much as I wouldn't want to trade Pacome Dardier, and I still don't want to, but that seems like the most logical path to, ticking all of the boxes, or as many boxes as possible from the front office perspective. You know, you could be killing 3 birds with 1 stone, as they say, by getting Shamit, Brogdon, and Garrison Matthews on the squad. But again, it's a tough call, man. I wouldn't want to be the one. You know, you might regret it. Trading Pacome. Wayne says, I'm just not completely sold on Deuce yet, but I do like what I'm seeing. I think Clarkson will be a better and more consistent throughout the season. I think, yeah, the true worth and value of Clarkson will come. You know, it'll come later into the season, no doubt. You know, you need those gunners, you know, on the second night of a back-to-back where it's funky and no one's got it going. And, you know, you need a guy like a Clarkson just to get us out in the mud. There will be those games, you know, or Brunson's maybe a little bit banged up and he sits. You know, you need a guy like a Clarkson. And I think, yeah, he's going to have his big moments. Bronx says, I just hope Hart doesn't become disgruntled with the lack of playing time once he returns. And I don't want Brown to feel pigeonholed into playing him, into having to play him. Hart feelings be damned. The finger thing does concern me a little bit. No doubt about it, you know. I think when Hart had those big moments as a Knick, he was knocking down some threes. I think that opens up his game so much. You know, if Hart can hit 2 of his first few threes, that tells the defense to really close out. So, you know, but we got the depth now. So, you know, everyone's feelings should just be put aside now because it's championship or bust. You know, everyone's going to be remembered as a legend, fam, if they can bring us a title, right? Ain't no one going to remember minutes. Ain't no one going to remember missed shots. If this team can win a championship, everyone will be a hero in my eyes. You know, and I think when you look at OKC, I mean, they were so balanced, you know, in the NBA Finals to beat. They're probably the only team on planet that could have beaten Indiana because they were more balanced than Indiana was, and Indiana was so balanced with 12 guys. Glenn's in the building. Salute, Glenn.
We talked about
salute my brother CT. I'm so excited to see what we can do this year. If Mitch can stay healthy, maybe not play back-to-backs, will be great. Yeah, Glenn, I think Mitch is key, and the plan for him is going to be key to keep him healthy for the postseason. Now, I'm loving what I'm seeing with the minutes. In those minutes are great. With the minutes where he's on the bench, we have Huck Porty, look really good. Trey Jemison looks like, you know, he could be a insurance policy. I don't know about Alex Len. We haven't talked about him tonight. Alex Len did not get any minutes, was a DNP, right? I believe. So let me just confirm. Yeah, Alex Len was a DNP. So I don't know what's up with him, whether that was a tactical, you know, decision or whether that was an injury. But Alex Len was on a camp deal anyway. He looks like he'll get cut. But between Jemison, Yabu had that nice stuff as well. So I think we're in a much better situation with the bigs. Now, we can play different ways, right? We've got OG, and I think Diawara could even guard some small ball fives as well, fan. Man, I just can't get over this graphic. Man, I want more of that. Guys with their hands out, wingspan, and blocking those passing lanes, right? McCullough, great in passing lanes. Brogdon is great. We all know that Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby are great passing lanes. Imagine these lineups with Huck, Diawara, Mikal, OG, Mitch, or you know, even another guy like a Pacome. Man, we could get super disruptive on the defensive side. Cat's dynamic. But not aggressive enough. I like to see that dog in him all game, every game. Yeah. I would love to see that too. I just think Cat's a different kind of cat. You know, I don't know if he's that kind of dog, but what I do know is he's just so talented, skill set offensively, and late in games, man, he's a problem. But yeah, I agree. He just needs to stay aggressive. and really, get to the foul line. Now, one thing I do want to mention, man, normally if you're aggressive, you get rewarded from the officiating. But last year, man, Cat got a crazy whistle. Cat got a crazy bad whistle last season, man. Not only on the defensive side, because of his reputation, he got called for ticky-tack fouls. But on the offensive end, man, he was hacked, whacked, he was tackled, he was murdered, and a lot of the time he didn't get the whistle. So I don't know what is it going to take, man, to get more respect from the officials. But Cat just needs to stay aggressive. So yeah, Optimus 2G salute says Heartland will play next game. Hopefully everyone's good. It would be a surprise if Hart could actually get up. Maybe that the back soreness isn't as bad as I feel. But yeah, it would be good to get more rhythm into Hart before game 1. Let's see. Mark says, are they going to play Mitch every game? In the season, they won't, I don't think. I think back-to-backs, there'll be a plan to maybe sit Mitch on some of the back-to-backs. And I think that will be smart. In terms of preseason, he might not play every game because we have Charlotte, we have Washington, to wrap things up, fam. Like Optimus says, wrap Mitchie in sellotape. Bubble wrap. Roberto says, I'm suspicious something will happen. Do you think Shamet is really worth all the fuss? Economy. Look, with Shamet, I think he has the points on the board from last season. They like his work ethic. They like his defensive tenacity. It doesn't hurt that he can knock down the shots too. For me, it's not at the, it's not at the hest of just moving on from Dardier. It has to make sense. But, I'll trust them, whatever call they make, because it's, championship or bust. And there's probably no right or wrong way to go about it. We're definitely going to sacrifice some of the future if we do have to keep Shamet. But what is the future hold? And nobody knows. We're trying to win a chip. And so, like I said, there's probably no right or wrong. Yeah, there's going to be some fans that disagree with a possible trade. There's going to be some fans that are on board with it. In the end, just go out there and win the chip, and then everyone else will be happy. I think that's what that's the best way to salvage this situation. I mean, I'm not just thinking about Landry. I'm thinking about Garrison Matthews too, because he's really impressed me. He's really impressed me. But at the same time, how many guys can you play, man? Are we going to get crazy and play a 12-man rotation sometimes, man? Rick Carlisle, eat your heart out. Because, yeah, this 82-game season, you got Deuce, Clarkson, Yabu, Brogdon, Dardier, whoever, Diawara, McCullough. So many guys can play. Yeah, Josh Hart, right? Hart might not see many minutes as well. So, look, man, it could be a case of just run and gun, play 12 guys, to hell with the half-court sets. This could be Mike D'Antoni in disguise, get up and down. But we do have some real half-court demons as well. Salute to Paula. And look, yeah, we might be overreacting with the Shamet thing. They might end up cutting him, for now. The one good thing about Landry is, he stays loyal. He'll hang around if we need to bring him in, if we do cut him. The thing is, they're also very financially inclined. So you got to look at Dardier. If you're pressed up against the second apron, yeah, a lot of people are talking about trading or possible trading him to fit some guys in. I'm looking at it another way. I'm looking at it like, okay, if there's a bigger trade that shakes out later, it doesn't hurt to have a Dardier on a rookie scale contract, which is if he ends up becoming a really good rotation player, you have cost control, which is very rare, right? We don't have many draft picks right now under cost control. And if you potentially lose Deuce in a year or two due to free agency, you've got Dardier on a rookie scale contract still as well, right? It's hit and miss with these vet minimums, right? You never know what you're going to get, man. It's like a Kinder Surprise. You know, campaign was a bit up and down. You have Jordan Clarkson. You know, sure, that was a great value signing, but it's still the vet minimum. You know, he might flee after a year. Brogdon, he might have a good season and command more. Yabu is on a player option. You know, this might be a cup of coffee for a lot of these guys. So keeping some of these young drafted guys on contracts is good for continuity as well, right? Sometimes it ain't all sunshine and rainbows with these vet minimum guys with the reputations, right? Because they can wet the bed still, right? With Brogdon, it might just become a health situation. You know, we don't know. So basically, I don't want to make too much sacrifice, but it's good that we've got McCullough, Tosan, and I think they are making backup plans. Worst case scenario. Paula says, yeah, exactly, CT. I would rather lose him for a better player. Yep, salute to Doug Fresh. Graz says, CT, isn't it likely that if Shamet, Matthews, and Brogdon is cut, they will quickly latch on to another team? Yeah, in the way of Shamet, yeah, he's been out there for a while and no one picked him up. I do think Brogdon would definitely get snapped up. You know, if you're Philly or you're Rockets losing point guards, they would definitely snap up Brogdon. So I think Brogdon's very safe. I think Brogdon will stay unless he gets, wiped out with an injury, knock on wood. But I think Shamet is still maybe a 70-30 that he sticks. But if Garrison Matthews plays game 3 next up and has a great game, then there's a real conversation to be had, I think, fam. Because, yeah, they might find a way to get one of those guys in now, and one of those other guys can wait around until March. They could do something that they did last season, which is do that G League draft system. You know, those guys where you can draft a guy with the G League draft, and then you can get them in Tarrytown, practicing under your building, in the same facility. And that way they could train and rehab or whatever and get ready for that 10-day contract when those hit, as well. So I think that is key. But yeah, I'm loving the way we're doing this, because a lot of the years we would promise a guy a spot. Sometimes it would backfire. Now we're just like, okay, whoever plays the best, you get that spot. And I think we've got 3 more games to go, man, and things are going to heat up. Because against Charlotte, against, Washington, as I ring up the schedule, right, we've got Minnesota on Thursday. Now we've got a long flight back to New York, a couple of days practice and rest. And then we've got Minnesota, a couple of days off, Washington, 3 days off, and then Charlotte to prepare for opening night. And so, yeah, I think the camp battles might come down to that Washington-Charlotte game, man. And it could come, as big as, like, let's say Matthews, Brogdon, or Dardier have a show out. That could settle the score in terms of who gets it right now. Because the front office ain't playing around, right? They don't want no passengers, right? Whoever, I think, earns their keep, I think will get it. I think whoever earns their keep will get the spot. Roberto says, yeah, I believe something else is up. CT, this front office is ruthless. Yeah, I mentioned, man, that they are financially inclined. It's just, I think, and that's the good thing. They got so many voices in the front office. They got the geeks, the nerds with the data analytics, the finances, and then they got some of the basketball guys, and then they all put it together, and they make a decision. But they do like to go with that kind of reputation, and I think Wesley has sort of brought that. They like Shamit, they like his moxie, they like his experience. I'm sure they got to like Matthews. They wouldn't have brought him along. He's a real shot, to cause a boil over, I think, and earn a spot. But then, yeah, some of the young guys, man, they're going to be looking over their shoulder right now, man. Like, dang, am I going to stick around? Am I going to have to look for apartments? I mean, it's like Clyde said it today, man. These guys are playing for their next bread, the next contract as well. But look, without overreacting, and I think we've done our best to balance it out. We're excited. We're hyped to see what else is around the corner. I think there's some guys that could really, get out of the second gear now. There are guys that are ready, rocking and rolling already. And there are some surprises who I think, okay, I want to see more. I want to see more of these guys, more minutes, right? Is Mike Brown going to, mix it up still in Game 3? I think he'll increase the starters' minutes a little bit more, but he will look for more combinations. Garrison Matthews will play in the first half, right? So they want to get a good look at him knocking down those shots. I want to see more reps from Brogdon. Obviously, he's still competing. And I want to see, outside of the two ways, is there anyone else that can, put their best foot forward in this one? But so far, so good. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys have been buzzing tonight. Shout out to everyone in the building. Replay squad, salute. And we got Yuri Ark for the super chat contribution. Shout out to him. Shout out to everyone out here rocking out this season. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, we'll be back, fam. Let's come back either tomorrow or Monday. So we'll be on live heavy now, getting into it and previewing the big Minnesota game, right? Because that is going to be big time at the Mecca, and the fan base and the building is going to be on fire in that one, with Tibbs maybe in attendance. Who knows? Dante, Randall. Let's see if they play Ant-Man. I still think they're not going to go full out. They're not going to go like balls to the wall yet, but I think they will increase some of the minutes, and I think it's going to be interesting to see, man. I'm still really looking out for Jalen Brunson in this new system. I think the main benefit right now is that he's just not, overexerting himself. As I say, we just need JB to be JB late in the season, late in the postseason, and late in ball games, right? But if it means we can feature OG, Kat, Macau, and the other guys more, then I think they'll be more happy. And I think the locker room and the chemistry is going to be a lot more higher than last season, and together, right? Tibbs had very few guys that he trusted, and he put all the faith in those guys. But this season, I think it's going to be like more of anything goes, ride the hot hand with that situation. So welcome in everyone. Buzzer beater coming in late, but salute to you and everyone out here. We'll see you on the next one. Let's go Knicks. Peace.